Simba the lion carried a heavy burden for such a young lion, as he thought he was responsible for the death of his father. His meerkat, warthog, and other animal friends wanted to help Simba laugh again. "You must put the past behind you," they all told him. "Hakuna Matata." Hakuna Matata means no worries, they told Simba. Soon Simba felt much better as he joined his animal friends. Swimming in the river and enjoying nice long days. As long as Simba did not think about his father's death and the painful memory of his Uncle Scar, telling Simba that he was responsible for his father's death. Scar had told Simba to run away. Simba felt like he was always running away. One day, while playing, a beautiful lioness chased Simba's friend the warthog. She wanted to eat him. The warthog was very scared. Simba saved his warthog friend and then realized the lioness was his old best friend from childhood, Nala. Simba had run away from his Pride Land so long ago. Nala and all the lions and all the other animals missed him very much, and she told them they needed Simba to save them from Scar and the hyenas. They were destroying the Pride Lands. "Please come home," asked Nala. "You are our only hope." Simba was not yet ready to return, and he sat and talked to Nala all night, and they kissed and had a private embrace. "You can't change the past. It's all my fault," said Simba as he walked away from Nala. Close by, a wise baboon called out to Simba. "You're Mufasa's son," he reminded Simba. "He lives in you," said the old baboon, and he reminded Simba of that. The baboon led Simba to a pool of water and told him to stare hard at his reflection. Suddenly, the clouds parted and the water changed shape, and Simba saw his father, Mufasa. "Remember who you are," Mufasa said from the stars. "You are my son and the one true king." Simba was afraid of what he knew he must do. The baboon all of a sudden hit Simba with a stick. "Why did you do that? It hurt," asked Simba. "Doesn't matter. It's in the past," said the baboon as he tried to hit Simba again. Simba ducked, avoiding the hit. "See," said the baboon, "the past can hurt, but you can either learn from it or run away." Simba understood this lesson and decided to return to his father's land, to save it from the hyenas and challenge his Uncle Scar. "I must fight for this, or who will?" "We will," answered Nala, the warthog, baboon, and meerkat. "We are with you until the end." They followed Simba to the Pride Lands and fought a big battle with the hyenas. Simba fought his evil Uncle Scar. Scar admitted, "I killed your father, Mufasa." When Simba heard this, a great anger surged through him. Anger for the death of his father. Anger for years of guilt. Anger for the destruction of his home, the Pride Lands. With a great roar, Simba flipped his uncle over the rock. Scar was defeated. Simba roared and finally claimed his rightful place as king. Nala was waiting for him and told all the animals that Simba was now king of the land. As news of Simba's return spread across the vast land, all of the animals once again roamed free. The land began to heal, and Simba and Nala ruled as king and queen. Simba and Nala started their own family and lived happily ever after. Once upon a time, there was a lovely princess who liked to take long walks into the woods. She wanted to play by the beautiful pond in the woods. After a while, she came upon the lovely pond. She sat by the side of the pond and began skipping rocks and enjoying her time. She had brought with her her treasured golden ball, a special gift from her father, the king. It was her most treasured toy. She just loved it. She threw it up in the air and caught it many times. She threw up her golden ball again, and it came down with a splash and landed in the pond. "Oh no!" cried the princess. "My beautiful golden ball! How will I ever get it back?" Just then, she saw an ugly frog coming out of the pond. The frog spoke and asked her, why was she crying? The princess could not believe she was hearing a talking frog. She blinked her eyes, and then the frog offered to retrieve her ball if she would let him live with her in her castle. She agreed to the deal and said, "Of course." The frog jumped back into the pond and dove very deep down and retrieved the princess's golden ball from the bottom of the pond.
Wow.
He then gave it back to the princess. She was so excited to get her golden ball back that she began to run back to the castle, forgetting all about her deal, leaving the frog behind. The frog was very sad and yelled, "Don't forget our deal, that I will come and live with you in the castle." The princess answered back, "How can an ugly frog possibly live with me in my beautiful castle?" And she continued on her way. The frog knew he must go to see the princess at her castle. She had to keep the deal they had made. The frog knew he had to convince the princess she must let him stay with her, even if it was just for a night or two. The frog cleaned himself up so he looked his finest. He hopped out of the pond and started to hop towards the castle. The frog finally came to the castle during the dinner hour. He hopped into the dining room, and then the princess had to tell the king all about the deal she had made with the ugly frog, about how he retrieved her golden ball from the bottom of the pond, and that he expected to come and live in the castle for retrieving the ball. The king listened to the story, and he insisted she must keep her word, and he welcomed the frog in. The frog hopped along and followed the princess to her room. He made himself very cozy on a bunch of pillows on her beautiful bed. He then fell asleep. In the morning, the frog awoke the princess and asked her for a favor. The frog asked the princess to kiss him, and he would leave her alone forever. The princess was annoyed by the frog, but she could not believe it, and she said, "Why would I kiss an ugly frog?" Just then, a tiny teardrop came out of the frog's eye. The princess saw the teardrop and thought she'd best give the frog a kiss, then he would just go away anyway. As she kissed the frog, he turned into the most handsome prince. The princess could not believe her eyes. The handsome prince told her how the evil witch had cast a spell on him and had turned him into the ugly frog. The only thing that would break the spell was a kiss from a lovely princess. When the princess heard this story, she fell in love with him immediately. The prince then asked her to marry him. She said yes. They held the wedding by the beautiful pond, and they lived happily ever after in the beautiful castle. Once upon a time, there was a large, lush green forest where many animals lived. The forest was home to all kinds of wildlife. There was enough food and shelter for all the animals to live in harmony. There were so many families of animals, including rabbits, birds, squirrels, raccoons, and so many more, including a large group of foxes. One day, a fox was walking through the forest. All of a sudden, he heard a loud snap and knew instantly his tail had been caught in a trap. The fox was very upset as he tried to get his tail out of the trap. Finally, he pulled himself away from the trap, but it cut off his tail. The fox was very sad, and he had a very sore tail. The fox cried and thought he would be the laughingstock of all of the foxes. He had lost his beautiful fluffy tail, and whatever should he do now? He walked deeper into the forest until he had an idea. He decided to have a meeting with all his animal friends to discuss his idea. When everyone had gathered together, the fox started to speak. "Thank you for coming to hear me," said the fox. "The reason I have gathered you here today is to talk about why we have a tail. You see, we have eyes, ears, a nose, teeth, legs, all for some reason. But why a tail? A tail is such a useless thing. It seems to get in the way. People trip over it. It gets in the way when we sit down. So after much consideration, I have cut off my own tail, and I would like you all to do the same. I feel great now that I no longer have that useless tail." The lead fox and all the other animals were amazed at what the fox was saying. They all thought it would be quite painful and had never really thought of themselves without tails.
Wow.
All of a sudden, a younger fox asked, "Are you saying this because you no longer have a beautiful furry tail? Are you feeling embarrassed and just thinking about yourself? Maybe you are worried we might leave you out of our group of friends." The group of animals agreed that the fox without a tail was being selfish, and that it was very mean that he should ask them to cut off their tails too. He just wants us all to cut off our tails so he won't be embarrassed or left out. All the animals were quite upset with the fox without a tail, and they left him to think about what he had asked them to do. The lead fox reminded the other animals about how special their tails were and how they should always be proud of their tails. No one should cut off their tails. They all agreed. The fox without a tail was left to wander the forest alone, as his friends realized he was not a true friend. He had asked them to change, to make sure he would fit in with them. He should have accepted his difference, and his friends would have welcomed him, instead of being upset with the fox without a tail. The fox without a tail wandered for a long time and thought about his decision. He returned to his forest, and his friends forgave him. They accepted him just as he was. The fox without a tail was very happy to be back with his friends. The end. Tom Thumb. Once upon a time, there lived a poor man and a woman who had no children. Their only wish was to have a child. One night as they sat on their porch, they saw a falling star. The woman said, "Let's wish for a baby, no matter how small it would be." Seven months passed and their wish came true. A child no bigger than a thumb was born. Because he was so little, they called him Tom Thumb. And they loved him with all their hearts. Tom became wise and nimble, but he never grew in size. His parents were very careful to make sure nothing would happen to him. One day the boy asked his father if he could help lead the horse to where he was working. Tom told his dad, "I can help lead the horse by sitting by his ear to give him directions." Tom was doing a great job directing the horse as they went through the woods. Along the way, they met two strangers. The strangers had never seen such a small boy. They offered Tom Thumb's dad as much money as he wanted to sell Tom Thumb to them. They told his dad Tom Thumb would travel in exhibitions making a fortune because so many people would come to see the small boy. Tom Thumb's dad was upset and told the men Tom was not some jester and he was not for sale. Tom Thumb talked to his father about he may not be able to work so hard as he was getting older. Please let me go with these men and take the money so you can finally live a good life. I promise I will return soon. His father let Tom Thumb go, hesitantly, with the two men. When the two men stopped for lunch near the pastor's house, Tom Thumb jumped down and ran into the house and into a mouse hole. The two men tried to reach him, but Tom Thumb told them to go ahead and he would catch up with them. The men went on their way. Tom Thumb decided to stay the night in the mouse hole. Just as he was about to fall asleep, he heard some voices. The voices were that of robbers who were going to rob the pastor's house. Tom Thumb had an idea to save the pastor's house. He started to speak, but the robbers could not see him because he was so small. Follow my voice. I can help you with the robbery because I am so small I can fit anywhere. When they began to sneak around, Tom Thumb started talking very close to where one of the pastor's maids was sleeping. He woke up the maid, and she chased the robbers away. Tom Thumb went to lay down in the hay in the barn to get a good night's sleep. When he awoke in the morning, he realized the cow had eaten the hay, and Tom Thumb was stuck in the cow's stomach. Tom Thumb began to yell for help. Tom Thumb managed to escape from the cow, only to be gobbled up by a wolf who was sneaking around the barn. Tom Thumb whispered from inside the wolf that he knew of a house filled with ham and bacon, and he could lead him there. Tom Thumb was secretly leading the wolf back to his parents' house. When they arrived, Tom Thumb's father began to get ready to attack the wolf. He had no idea Tom Thumb was inside. All of a sudden, he heard Tom's voice. Tom was rescued from the wolf by his father, who promised never to sell him again. Not for all the riches in the world. Tom Thumb and his parents lived happily ever after. The end.